The great way is not difficult for those not attached to preferences. When neither love nor hate arises, all is clear and undisguised. Separate by the smallest amount, however, and you are as far from it as heaven is from earth. If you wish to know the truth, then hold on to no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the fundamental nature of things is not recognized, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect as vast space is perfect, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our grasping and rejecting that we do not know the true nature of things, live neither in the entanglements of outer things, nor in the ideas or feelings of emptiness. Be serene and at one with things, and erroneous views will disappear by themselves. When you try to stop activity to achieve quietude, your very effort fills you with activity. So long as you remain attached to one extreme or another, you will never know oneness. Those who do not live in the single way cannot be free in either activity or quietude, and assertion or denial. Deny the reality of things and you miss their reality. Assert the emptiness of things and you miss their reality. The more you talk and think about it, the further you wander from the truth. So cease attachment to talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. To return to the root is to find the essence, but to pursue appearances or enlightenment is to miss the source. To awake even for a moment is to go beyond appearance and emptiness. Changes that seem to occur in the empty world we make real only because of our ignorance. Do not seek for the truth, only cease to cherish opinions. Do not remain in a dualistic state. Avoid such easy habits carefully. If you attach to even a trace of this or that, right and wrong, the mind essence will be lost in confusion. Although all dualities arise from the one, do not be attached even to ideas of this one. When the mind exists undisturbed in the way, there is no objection to anything in the world. And when there is no objection to anything, things cease to be in the old way. When no discriminating attachment arises, the old mind ceases to exist. Let go of things as separate existences, and mind too vanishes. Likewise, when the thinking subject vanishes, so too do the objects created by mind. The arising of others gives rise to self. Giving rise to self generates others. Know these seeming two as facets of the one fundamental reality. In this emptiness, these two are really one, and each contains all phenomena. If not comparing nor attached to refined and vulgar, you will not fall into judgment and opinion. The great way is embracing and spacious. To live in it is neither easy nor difficult. Those who rely on limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go. To have a narrow mind and to be attached to getting enlightenment is to lose one's center and go astray. When one is free from attachment, all things are as they are, and there is neither coming nor going. When in harmony with the nature of things, your own fundamental nature, you will walk freely and undisturbed. However, when mind is in bondage, the truth is hidden and everything is murky and unclear, and the burdensome practice of judging brings annoyance and weariness. What benefit can be derived from attachment to distinctions and separations? If you wish to move in the one way, do not dislike the worlds of senses and ideas. Indeed, to embrace them fully is identical with true enlightenment. The wise person attaches to no goals, but the foolish person fetters himself or herself. There is one Dharma without differentiation. Distinctions arise from the clinging needs of the ignorant. To seek mine with the discriminating mind is the greatest of mistakes. Rest and unrest derive from illusion. With enlightenment, attachment to liking and disliking ceases. All dualities come from ignorant inference. They are like dreams, phantoms, hallucinations. It is foolish to try to grasp them. Gain and loss, right and wrong. Finally, abandon all such thoughts at once. If the eye never sleeps, all dreams will naturally cease. If the mind makes no discriminations, the 10,000 things are as they are, of single essence. To realize the mystery of this one essence is to be released from all entanglements. When all things are seen without differentiation, the one self-essence is everywhere revealed. No comparisons or analogies are possible in this ceaseless, relationship state of just the one. When movement stops, there is no movement, and when no movement, there is no stopping. When such dualities cease to exist, oneness itself cannot exist. To this ultimate state, no law or description applies. For the realized mind at one with the way, all self-centered striving ceases. Doubts and irresolutions vanish, and the truth is confirmed in you. With a single stroke, you are freed from bondage. Nothing clings to you, and you hold to nothing. All is empty, clear, self-illuminating, with no need to exert the mind. Here, thinking, feeling, understanding, and imagination are of no value. In this world as it really is, there is neither self nor other than self. To know this reality directly is possible only through practicing non-duality. When you live this non-separation, all things manifest the one, and nothing is excluded. Whoever comes to enlightenment, no matter when or where, realizes personally this fundamental source. This Dharma truth has nothing to do with big or small, with time and space. Here a single thought is as 10,000 years, not here, not there, but everywhere, always right before your eyes. Infinitely large and infinitely small, no difference, for definitions are irrelevant and no boundaries can be discerned. So likewise with existence and non-existence. Don't waste your time in arguments and discussion, attempting to grasp the ungraspable. Each thing reveals the one, and the one manifests as all things. To live in this realization is not to worry about perfection or non-perfection. To put your trust in the heart-mind is to live without separation, and in this non-duality you are one with your life source. Words, words, the way is beyond language, for in it there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, no today.
At this time, I'd like to invite our incense lighters. And for the rest of us, if we could turn to page 2, we'll be doing our incense lighting gatha. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. It definitely feels a lot better with the air working, so I'm grateful for that. Especially, I'm probably wearing more layers than anybody else. So, I just have a couple quick beginning of service announcements. Um, Anybody who needs to step away for any reason, there is a room right down there, down the stairs. There's an extra bathroom, water fountain, some toys, and things like that. Also, if you do need to use the restroom, right through these curtains as well, there are a couple restrooms there. Also, we ask that if you do need to leave or walk past during the service, that you just go through the back and kind of leave the front in front of the dais clear. Mostly for the people on the camera, but also in some respect for the space. Also, we ask that when you... Can you not hear me? Do you want to let them know? I don't know. Is the PA on? Not through the speakers. Okay. I just want to make sure they can at least hear me online. Do you know if the PA speakers are on? Oh, okay. I'm here now. We also ask that when you enter or leave the Dharma hall that you give just a bow of acknowledgement. Like I say, we create the sacred space. We don't enter it. So, with that, why don't we stand and give a greeting to everybody around us. We'll be doing our opening gathas on page 3. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. turn to the next page, page 4, we'll be doing the Heart Sutra. Dharma, Prajna, Paramita, Hridaya, Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of Prajna, Paramita, received the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all karmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight, no realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering. No cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but Prajna, Paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in Prajna, Paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the Prajna, Paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the Prajna, Paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Prajna, Paramita, Hridaya. Hi. My name is Shin. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a teaching monk here at the temple. I'm happy to be here talking in front of you all. Um, Tomorrow is a special day. Does anybody know what tomorrow is? You're right. It's somebody's birthday. Um, does anybody know who Woody Guthrie is? Yes. Tomorrow is Woody Guthrie's birthday. I'm not sure how old he would be if he was still around. Woody Guthrie is probably best known for his song "This Land Is Your Land," which many of you may know. But he had a whole songbook full of folk songs that he wrote, and helped inspire a whole new wave of folk music in the late 50s and early 60s, including probably most famously Bob Dylan. Which, if you don't know Woody Guthrie, you probably know who Bob Dylan is. Woody Guthrie kind of inspired my talk today because one of the things that he's best known for was a sign that he always kept on the front of his guitar. Does anybody know what that sign said? Yeah, well, what's it?
This machine kills fascists.
Yeah, this machine kills fascists. And I remember hearing a story behind this that he was in a factory, and the factory was making, I don't remember what, but it was during World War II, and they were making something for the war effort. And to kind of help boost the morale, somebody had painted that on the side of one of the machines that was making, I don't know if it was submarine parts or something like that. And there was a spark in his head, and he said, you know what? Maybe this is more in the literal sense in the case of the factory making weapons of war. But he painted this on the side of his guitar. And I thought that this was a really cool way of thinking about this because you can kill fascists in a lot of different ways. And for Woody Guthrie, that was through music and through community and giving voice to the voiceless through lots of his songs, which were almost exclusively through the viewpoints of people who were oppressed. So, in honor of Woody Guthrie, I will put our sign on our machine here. And hopefully it does the same thing for us. So, thank you. I don't remember what I called my talk today officially, but it was something such as lessons outside the Dharma, maybe. I thought if Woody could kind of see these opportunities to speak out, not in just direct ways, such as building machines of war, but in the words that he spoke and sung. I like to think that in the same way, we can find Dharma in lots of different aspects of life. And in reflecting upon that, I realized that, I didn't find Buddhism until probably my mid-20s. But I had been primed my entire life with lessons of the Dharma before I had ever met the Buddha. And as many of you know, Suji, my teacher within Buddhism, was not my first teacher. And my first teacher, which I met when I was still a teenager living in my house with my parents, I would say the most important lesson that they ever gave me was I had asked them, I was living with my parents, young queer kid, going to a Southern Baptist church, not really feeling like I wanted to stay there. I wanted to leave. And I told my teacher, I'm thinking about just, basically causing a stir within my family, saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. I'm leaving. And And he told me, no, don't do that. He said, you're very close to 18. There'll be plenty of time. I think he knew at the time that all that was going to do is create more suffering for myself and for my family. And then he told me something I wasn't expecting. He said, I want you to go to your church every Sunday, and I want you to learn the lessons that are there. This was very powerful for me because most of my life, being raised in a very fundamental religion, I was taught there are no lessons outside of the Bible. There's the Bible, and then there's demonic influence, if you will. And if ever you were to look outside, you have to filter that through the lens of the Bible. And to hear somebody say there's a lesson in every moment was very powerful. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I didn't fully get that lesson all at once. And I'm still learning that lesson here. Oh, geez, I don't even know how many years later. I'm not very good at math. But it's helped me get to the place where I can even look back on my life being raised in the Southern Baptist Church and realize that I've learned a lot of lessons through there as well. So I told myself I was going to try to not teach using any of the sutras that we do. That was my one rule. And I think I could probably do many of these lessons and many of these talks because there's so many things that have been coming up and so many lessons that I've learned along the way. But I thought, there's one question that I've been asked a whole lot in the last year, 2 years, maybe since last November. I don't know if there's a correlation with anything. And that's, somewhat, what do we do? What are we supposed to do when the world seems so bleak? And maybe I have a lot of answers, but I would say one of the best answers that I have is realizing that not only are we not alone, but we're also not the first ones. We have pulled from so many of our ancestors' strength. I have somebody that I work with who I love dearly, who comes from indigenous roots, and myself having indigenous ancestry. And it's especially hard now being queer Mexican, so go figure. But we've talked and we had this conversation about how if there's one gift that we have that many of the white people in our country have lost, that's the power to pull from your ancestry, the power to pull from your ancestors' strength. I think it's in our culture that you grow old, you get married, you move out, and you start your own family, and you might see your family on Christmas and Easter, and maybe an awkward phone call in the middle there. But that's not normal. That's very new, and that's very unique to the American way of life. If you look through the entirety of human existence, we were connected to not only our ancestors further down, but immediate ancestors. Having 2-3 generations in the same household is a very normal way to live as a human being. It's also a very beautiful way to pull strength, not only from your own experience, but from people who have done this already. And not only that, but there's this idea of ancestor worship that you see in so many cultures. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this sort of metaphysical woo-woo thing, but just being able to acknowledge the people that came before you that are no longer around and realizing the strength that they had. I think of my grandfather on my dad's side and his life that he lived. He grew up in southern Arizona, a Mexican man. And he was of age during World War II and served in the Army. And he used to talk very briefly at the time in Europe towards the end of the war, where he was some of the first people to go into the concentration camps after they were liberated. And he said that, the American forces would show up and the Nazis would be gone by the time they got there, because, it was towards the end of the war, and they basically just left everybody there. The only story he ever told me, because I was pretty young at the time that he was alive, is he said that when he came to the camp, they thought it was completely abandoned, and they saw skeletons kind of all over. But as they got closer, they started seeing breathing, and they realized that they were alive, that they were still people that were so emaciated, they didn't even realize that they were still alive. And they said that they had food, and they tried to give them food, and as they started eating, their bodies went into shock because they hadn't eaten. They started dying quickly, and so they had to hold back the food that they had in order to try to nurse them to health. He wouldn't tell me much more. It's not something that he talked about a whole lot. Another story that he told me is that one hard part about being Mexican in the 30s and the 40s was kind of in this limbo spot in the Jim Crow era of the world, where he said he would go to a restaurant or a public bathroom, and he would see whites and coloreds only, and he would say, I had to decide that day, what do I pass for, because if I go into one, I don't belong, and if I go into the other, I don't belong. So I had to decide, which who am I today? And I can't help but think in my own, life, not to sort of boil down my transness to a bathroom issue, because I feel like that happens a lot. But I'm standing with my grandfather sometimes when I see the restrooms and deciding, well, which one do I pass for today? Which one do I feel safest in? But I'm not doing it for the first time, and I'm not doing it alone, because I've learned how to pull from my ancestors. There's something I'd like to read for you all. It is not part of the Dharma, but I think this question that's been asked of me has been answered many times before, and been answered probably better than I could answer it. We kind of look at what's going on in our world today, and for a lot of people, it's the first time that that's happened, maybe to us personally, or maybe even to the group of people that we belong to. But I hate to tell you, but it's been happening for a very long time to a lot of people. And there's a lot of people who have found the strength to move on. There's a saying within the indigenous culture that, we're the ancestors are the ones that, they couldn't kill. The fact that I'm sitting here today is tens of generations that made it through. And so I have a lot of strength to pull from. And everybody who's sitting here has a lot of strength to pull from. So just like I'm happy that at least I told some of you about Woody Guthrie, and if you didn't know who that was, you have some homework. I have somebody else that I hope that everybody knows who this is. And if you don't, you're going to learn. James Baldwin. Are people familiar? James Baldwin is a author, prominent in the 50s and early 60s. Often kind of credited as starting to be a part of the group to help start the movement in the 60s of all the radical change of equality in the civil rights era. Not only were they a part of a very oppressed people at the time, but they were also a gay man. And being gay and black, I often relate being somebody who is also queer and Mexican in 2025. And so if there's anybody that I can pull, he's not my direct ancestor, but in a lot of ways, he's also my ancestor. I really like this book, and full disclosure, I've never read the entire thing. It's not even very thick. It consists of 2 letters. And the reason that I've never read the whole thing is because the first letters kind of hit me so hard that instead of continuing on, I started over and I read it again. One day I'll read the second letter, I promise. It's not very long. It's only a few pages. And I wanted to read it in its entirety to you. because I think there's a lot of wisdom outside the Dharma in this. It's written from the perspective of, I believe, an uncle to the nephew. So again, it's this sort of ancestor passing on. And it was written on the 100-year anniversary of emancipation um, in the early 60s. Um, Sort of a reflection on, where the Black people had come in that time, 100 years from the Civil War to the 60s. Um, and I'll just read it to you. There are a few words that I don't feel comfortable saying as myself, so I will change them, or I will just indicate what the words are, and I hope you'll understand. Um, but feel free to read it unedited if you would like at a different time. The name of this letter or essay is called My Dungeon Shook, a letter to my nephew on the 100th anniversary of emancipation. Dear James, I have begun this letter 5 times and torn it up 5 times. I keep seeing your face, which is also the face of your father and my brother. Like him, you are tough, dark, vulnerable, moody, with a very definite tendency to sound truculent because you want no one to think you are soft. You may be like your grandfather in this. I don't know. But certainly both you and your father resemble him very much physically. Well, he is dead. He never saw you. And he had a terrible life. He was defeated long before he died, because at the bottom of his heart, he really believed what the white people say about him. This is one of the reasons that he became so holy. I am sure that your father has told you something about all of that. Neither you nor your father exhibit any tendency towards holiness. You really are of another era. Part of what happened when the Black man left the land and came into what the late E. Franklin Frazier called the cities of destruction. You can only be destroyed by believing that you really are what the white world calls the N-word. I tell you this because I love you, and please don't you ever forget. I have known both of you all your lives, have carried your daddy in my arms and on my shoulders, kissed and spanked him and watched him learn to walk. I don't know if you've ever known anybody from that far back, if you've loved anybody that long, first as an infant, then a child, then as a man. You gain a strange perspective on time and human pain and effort. Other people cannot see what I see whenever I look into your father's face. For behind your father's face, as it is today, are all those other faces which were his. Let him laugh, and I see a cellar your father does not remember, and a house he does not remember. And I hear in his present laughter, his laughter as a child. Let him curse, and I remember him falling down the cellar steps and howling, and I remember with pain his tears, which my hand or your grandmother's so easily wiped away. But no one's hand can wipe away those tears he sheds invisibly today, which one hears in his laughter and in his speech and in his songs. I know what the world has done to my brother and how narrowly he has survived it. And I know, which is much worse, and that this, the crime of which I accuse my country and my countrymen, and for which neither I, nor time, nor history will ever forgive them, that they have destroyed and are destroying hundreds of thousands of lives, and they do not know it, and they don't want to know it. One can be, indeed, one must strive to become tough and philosophical concerning destruction and death. For this is what most of mankind has been best at since we've heard of man. But remember, most of mankind is not all of mankind. But it is not permissible that the authors of devastation should also be innocent. It is the innocence which constitutes the crime. Now, my dear namesake, these innocent and well-meaning people, your countrymen, have caused you to be born under conditions not very far removed from those described for us by Charles Dickens in the London of a much more than 100 years ago. I hear the chorus of innocents screaming, "No, this is not true. How bitter are you?" But I am writing this letter to you to try to tell you something about how to handle them. For most of them do not yet really know that you exist. But I know. I know the conditions under which you were born, for I was there. Your countrymen were not there and haven't made it yet. Your grandmother was also there, and no one has ever accused her of being bitter. I suggest that the innocence checks with her. She isn't hard to find. Your countrymen don't know that she exists either, though she has been working for them all their lives. Well, you were born. Here you came, something like 15 years ago. And though your father and mother and grandmother, looking about the streets through which they were carrying you, staring at the walls into which they brought you, had every reason to be heavy hearted, yet they were not. For here you were, Big James, named for me. You are a big baby. I was not. Here you were, to be loved, to be loved. Baby, hard, at once and forever. To strengthen you against the loveless world. Remember that. I know how black it looks today. For you, it looked bad that day too. Yes, we were trembling. We have not stopped trembling yet. But if we have not loved each other, none of us would have survived. And now you must survive because we love you. And for the sake of your children and your children's children, this innocent country set you down in a ghetto in which, in fact, is intended that you should perish. Let me spell out precisely what I mean by that. For the heart of the matter is here, and the root of my dispute with my country. You were born where you were born, and faced a future that you faced because you were black, and for no other reason. The limits of your ambition were thus expected to be set forever. You were born into a society which spelled out with this brutal clarity, and in as many ways as possible, that you were a worthless human being. You were not expected to aspire to excellence. You were expected to make peace with mediocrity. Wherever you have turned, James, your short time on this earth, you have been told where you could go and what you could do and how you could do it, and where you could live and whom you could marry. I know your countrymen do not agree with me about this, and I hear them saying, "You're exaggerating." You've probably heard this before. They do not know Harlem as I do. So do you. Take no one's word for anything, including mine, but trust your experience. Know whence you came. If you know whence you came, there's really no limit to where you can go. The details and symbols of your life have been deliberately constructed to make you believe what white people say about you. Please try to remember that what they believe, as well as what they do, can cause you to endure. Does not testify to your inferiority, but their inhumanity and fear. And I'm going to read that again. Please try to remember that what they believe, as well as what they do and cause you to endure, does not testify to your inferiority, but to their inhumanity and fear. Please try to be clear, dear James, through the storm which rages about your youthful head today, about the reality which lies behind the words acceptance and integration. There is no reason for you to try to become like white people, and there is no basis whatever for the impermanent assumption that they must accept you. The really terrible thing, old buddy, is that you must accept them. And I mean this very seriously. You must accept them, and accept them with love. For these innocent people have no other hope. They are, in effect, still trapped in a history which they do not even understand. And until they understand it, they cannot be released from it. They have had to believe for many years and for innumerable reasons that black men are inferior to white men. Many of them indeed know better, but as you will discover, people find it very difficult to act on what they know. To act is to be committed, and to be committed is to be in danger. In this case, the danger in the minds of most white Americans is the loss of their identity. Try to imagine how you would feel if you woke up one morning to find the sun shining and all the stars aflame. You would be frightened because it is out of the order of nature. Any upheaval in the universe is terrifying because it is so profoundly attacks one's sense of one's own reality. Well, the black man has functioned in the white man's world as a fixed star, as an immovable pillar. And as he moves out of his place, heaven and earth are shaken to their foundations. You don't be afraid. I said that it was intended that you should perish in this ghetto, perish by never being allowed to go behind the white man's definitions, by never being allowed to spell your own proper name. You have, and many of us have, defeated this intention. And by terrible law, a terrible paradox, those innocents who believe that your imprisonment made them safe are losing their grasp of reality. And I'll say this again because it's still true. By terrible law and terrible paradox, those innocents who believe that your imprisonment made them safe are losing their grasp of reality. But these men are your brothers, your lost younger brothers. And if the word integration means anything, this is what it means: that we, with love, shall force our brothers to see themselves as they are, to cease fleeing from reality and begin to change it. For this is your home, my friend. Do not be driven from it. Great men have done great things here and will again. And we can make America what America must become. It will be hard, James, but you come from sturdy peasant stock, men who picked cotton and dammed rivers and built railroads, and in the teeth of the most terrifying odds, achieved an unassailable and monumental dignity. You come from a long line of great poets, some of the greatest poets since Homer. One of them said, "The very time I thought I was lost, my dungeon shook and my chains fell off." You know, and I know, that the country is celebrating 100 years of freedom, 100 years too soon. We cannot be free until they are free. God bless you, James, and Godspeed, your Uncle James. Part of me feels very sad reading that because 70 years ago, they knew that we had not come far enough. And here we are, and there's not a single word on that page that doesn't still resonate. Maybe these situations are different for a lot of us, but the words are still true. Sometimes I feel like when we ask, what can I do? Maybe the right question is, what did they do? I hope you can pull some wisdom from that reading. I hope you can pull some wisdom from the people around you, the people that came before you. And maybe in 100 years, we can burn this book because it won't matter anymore. Here's hoping. So why don't we prepare ourselves for some meditation, okay? I'd like to open the floor now for joys and concerns or general comments. So if anybody has anything, yes, do we have a mic that we can pass around? Are those corgis on your shirt? Thank you. Let's be real. All dogs are kind of genetically modified.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Jyoti. I have both a joy, a concern, and a general comment. I'll start with the bad news. My husband has lost the family that he thought he knew. They're still alive. I'll keep this brief because other people probably deserve to speak, and I shouldn't go on for 10 minutes. My sister-in-law is being married next month, and my mother and father-in-law are opposed to going to their daughter's wedding because the head of the congregation is a black man. I mean, yeah, that's where we are. So that's been really weighing on us, and I just wanted to share that. I wanted to also say that, Sun Shin, I am very grateful that you spoke about this today, because it's been weighing on me too. Not in the same way, but something that I've been thinking of is the concept of not only lineages of blood, but also what might be called psychosocial lineages. I'm talking mostly about the families that queer people have to construct for themselves. We all know. And I also have a reading to share. It's very short. It's from Sappho, who, if you don't know, is the reason why lesbians are called that. It's the name of the island she lived on. So truly a gay icon. And we only have fragments of her work for one reason or another, but this has survived. I quote, "Somebody will remember us, I say, even in another time." And she wrote that for you and me. And so I just thank you all for being my family. And the family of my family. Thank you.
Do you have anybody else that would like to say anything?
My name is Upaya, and last weekend I had an accident with my gas grill that sent me to the emergency room with propane burns. So they patched me up in a couple hours with burn cream and mummy wrap, and this is the first day that I've taken the bandages off. That I don't have to wear them anymore. So I'm happy that it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and I'm healing nicely.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ananda Pulabhava. I've got two joys. It's a joy to greet you guys, each and every one of you. It's an honor and a privilege to see you all, greet you with a smiling face. It really is. It means a lot to me to have. It's an honor, and I'm really grateful. I'm so crying. Another really awesome joy yesterday was at the North Club, and it was so much fun to just sympathetic joy, and just there's a lot of people that a really good friend of mine gave a speaker talk, but Bree Lynn, somebody I met on Monday here, can reach out to me and look for sponsorship, and without telling their whole story, celebrated 30 days in sobriety at Guy and Light Women's Program. She's doing amazing, and I can't wait till she's very much looking forward to being a part here when that aspect of her journey comes to light. But it was a wonderful experience, and I'm really grateful to share it.
Yeah, click it up. You gotta move the thing up. Yes, there you go.
I don't know if this is a joy or a concern, but my name is Sandra. And last week I shared that my granddaughter was lost in her addiction of crack cocaine. And yesterday we didn't know where she was. We couldn't find her. And yesterday she was rescued from a terrible trafficking house where they were selling her body all day long. She was hostage, and they think that the man who had her has been killing his victims after he's done with them. The FBI raided the house, and
Is she home now? I'm so grateful that she was found. And I hope that she can find the strength, because there's an innumerable amount of people that are going to benefit from the transformation of that suffering. And it's hard. It's going to be very hard. But she's going to turn that into something great, and she's going to save a lot of people. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Do we have anybody on our Zoom or YouTube? Okay.
So we have someone on YouTube, Gene Snyder. They're saying, "My joy is my concern. I have been cultivating." My joy is my garden. I have been cultivating. Last week was the 2-year anniversary of my dad's death, and gardening helps me to honor and feel close to him. He was an arborist and avid gardener.
I have I don't know if I want to call it joy or concern, but yesterday we held a memorial service here from somebody that had just started coming to the temple and had passed away. And although I'm sure I've met them in passing, I never really got a chance to meet her before her passing. But yesterday I got to meet her about 15 times through all the people that were here, and it was a really beautiful moment. And I feel honored that I got to be a part of that celebration and the processing of that grief. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for that. If there's no one else, I'd like to take a few moments to sit with that and to embrace it. I do have some announcements. We have an online meditation group that meets on Wednesdays from 6 to 6:45 p.m. And you can join via Zoom. You can also contact Upaya, Jeff, or see the newsletter for more information. We also have our Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board meeting Sunday, July 20th, which I believe is next Sunday. And that'll be after the service at 11:30. And you can join in person or through Google Meet, and all of you are invited to that. And I think I said last time too that we are going through a bit of a shift in our council board, and if there's anybody who thinks that that's something that they would like to help with or would like to donate their time to our temple in that way, that's a place that we could really use you, especially to help us kind of keep things running behind the scenes. So even if you're not sure, but you want to know, what are some spots and what are some ways that you can help out, I think that would be a wonderful place to start. And so if you'd like to, even if you just want to come in with some questions, I think that would be great. We also have our introduction to meditation from the Tibetan perspective, and that's on Saturday, August 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. here at the temple. And that's an introduction to meditation from the Tibetan perspective. And it offers practical techniques for cultivating mindfulness and breathing awareness and a comprehensive exploration of the foundational meditation practices. And this class is recommended as a prerequisite to all other classes and trainings at the temple. And you can get in contact with Ige Su through their email, igesu@zengr.org, or you can see our newsletter for more information. We also have our Buddhist-based recovery meetings that meet Mondays, 6:30 p.m., here at the temple, Wednesdays at 6:30 at the Alano Club, and Fridays at 10:05 here at the temple or over Zoom. Also today, since it is the second Sunday of the month, we have our Grand Rapids Mutual Aid Sangha meeting, and we'll be meeting right after the service today downstairs. So if anybody would like to join for that, feel free. Do we have any other announcements that need to be made?
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Atano Nato. I'm here for Dana announcement today. So Dana is the first of the 6 paramitas, and in our practice, Dana is, oh my gosh, I just forgot my words. Generosity, thank you. Different ways that we can practice Dana. There's monetary donations that we can make. We have Dana boxes on both entrances of the temple as well as at the bottom of the stairs. If you're online, There's a drop down box where you can donate. And also on our website, you can donate. And you can set up a one time donation or recurring donation. Also, giving of goods that we need, so cleaning supplies, toilet paper, tea bags, and volunteering time too with our Dharma Disciples group with setting up the temple, cleaning the bathrooms, and other things that might be needed. So thank you.
Are there any other announcements? With that, I do want to stand for our closing gathas. But also, if anybody needs a hug or some time too, here's your chance. Okay, it's a hard day. We'll be on page 6. For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born in my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless seal of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless line passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. If we could face each other.